Guys, I went to the Team 10 house. I was one of those people that waited outside the Team 10 house until one of them came out. The only person I ever saw was What's up, bitches? Hello, welcome back to the Girl Math Podcast. I am boiling. You are currently sitting on top of my broken Jean-Paul Gaultier bottle opener thing. If you know, you know. Almost didn't post today because I was just like, I'm over it. I'm actually over being a hypochondriac, or am I a hypochondriac or not? I have a CT scan booked for Tuesday. I am terrified because I almost don't want to know the answer, but I almost do because like everyone I've spoken to is almost 99% certain that I'm fine. But there's that 1% that I just like, my gut is telling me no, go get it checked. Anyway, so I will let you know how that goes. I look like bum, but don't come at me, okay? It says bad on my top for a reason, bad mental health. That's what I'm going through. I feel so alone in my hypochondria. Like, is it even hypochondria though? That's the thing. Like, am I just going crazy? Am I just spiraling? I say it's hypochondria, but I don't actually know factually if it's hypochondria until I get the test done. Because I could just be actually unwell and I don't know. But then is that just me deeping it and being a hypochondriac? I don't know. Anyway, nevertheless, this is like being a hypochondriac and being overly stressed with your anxiety is very, very isolating. And sometimes you can be around people that don't quite get it. Like my boyfriend is a very logical guy. So naturally, that just makes me feel like isolated in how I feel emotionally because I'm like, bitch, why don't you get it? He's like, no, you're fine, Corey. And like, same with my friends, to be honest. My friends are also like, oh no, Corey, you're fine. And I'm just like, am I though? Honestly, I just feel like yapping because I feel so isolated and lonely. And I think feeling lonely in your own mental health can be so draining. I'm actually drained by myself. Like, no wonder people around me are drained because they're just like, Corey, how do you even live with yourself? I don't even know. I don't know how I'm still here, genuinely. Like, I feel like I'm having this crazy episode where I think I am just dying. For the past few weeks, I've been spiraling on Google about my symptoms to the point where I genuinely think I'm dying. Like, I just feel like my time is up and I'm only 23. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's really put life into perspective for me, which is what I kind of wanted to discuss today. I've been so caught up in all of the external things of what I want to achieve and all of this. And I genuinely came to the point where if I die tomorrow, like, I've not done what I wanted to do. I've not seen what I wanted to see. Like, I've genuinely got to that point of spiraling on Google and having these symptoms and just putting life into perspective where I'm just like, damn, like the things around me really do matter and some things really don't. Like the things I'm stressing out about day to day, I've wasted so much time on and I'm just like stressing out because your life can literally change. Like everyone thinks they're invincible until they're not. And I just think I've always been one of those people that feels like they're invincible until they're not. I mean, God forbid, I've not been invincible yet, but like I'm actually at that point where for the first time in my life, I feel like I could be not invincible. Like I feel like life might just punch me in the ass. The thing about having health scares is that your body naturally looks for the worst in things because it's trying to survive. Like I'm just stuck in survival mode. So I'm trying to tell myself worst case scenario. So I'm prepared for when that worst case scenario happens. But that worst case scenario might not even happen. So like, yeah, I don't know. But then it really just makes me scared to live. Like I'm scared to live. I'm scared to get old. Because I'm like, when I'm old, I'm probably am going to have these issues. And I'm probably going to be 10 times worse because I'm going to be old and I'm not going to be able to fight it off. So I'm just like, I don't know. I need to put my hair up for this one. I'm hot as hell. Guys, I'm sweating my ass off and I'm just like uncomfortable. I don't know how to feel. I bought this top yesterday for $4.99 from TK Maxx because I could not be asked to do my washing. And like, I think it's a vibe. I genuinely want to switch up my whole wardrobe, my whole aesthetic, because sometimes I just get like that. And I just kind of want to make a whole Pinterest board and like change my whole vibe because I'm bored. I'm bored of myself. I can't take it much longer. I can't. Health scares are scary, especially when people don't get it and they're logical people. Like, oh, logical people. Genuinely. The only people that probably get it are my sisters because like we're all just the same. Also, I've had like no appetite. I know I normally talk about food on this channel, but I've just had no appetite because I've been so stressed because my body thinks I'm dying. Like I'm just like, the only thing I can eat is fruit. I've actually just ordered some fruit from GoPuff because I just really need it. Like I don't know what it is about my body. I just need the fruit. Maybe I am. Maybe I am just a little bit cuckoo. Maybe I am just a little bit whack. Maybe there is a screw loose. I don't know. But then having screws fitted, is that just boring? I don't know. In the process of thinking that my days are almost over, I also had the thought of mental toughness. Because in this time, you are the only person that can get yourself out of this hole. And like, I've got some affirmations that's been really helping me. I acknowledge this thought, but I don't have to believe it. I am not my brain, so I am not my thoughts. My brain is just a tool. That is probably the best one for health anxiety. Your own brain is your own worst enemy at this point. Also Google, but your brain is actually a useful tool. So view it as a tool. All thoughts are neutral. It's the emotion I attach that keeps it here. I can choose to focus on something fun instead. This thought is just a product of my mind. It doesn't mean anything. Like, or does it though? I don't know. I need my fruit. I can't think straight. My Go Puff is here. Thoughts on these lids, guys, because I don't even know anymore. I don't know how to feel. Why? I forget. For some reason, I thought that was nice. Every time. It gets me every time. Anywho, back to the podcast. I do feel very alone in the fact that I feel like I'm crazy. Am I just with normal people, or am I just with insane people? Or am I the insane one? I try and tell myself I am not the insane one, it's just everyone else around me. Have I reached the point where I need therapy? Probably. I just don't want to be on the waiting list. It's too long. I can't be asked. My attention span is too short for that shit. I either get it now or I don't. And I'm kind of stuck in this ADHD mindset where I'm like, I cannot get shit done. I'm paralyzed in my own space. And like, people will look at me and think you're lazy. I'm not lazy. I just for some reason can't do it. I was going to go to the new office space today, but I don't really want to step foot outside of the vicinity of my own home. And I just think maybe I'll never have a podcast studio because like, I just feel so comfortable in my own home. When I get guests on, they're probably just going to have to come in my bedroom because at that point, I don't want to be leaving. Now that rant is over, shall I give you some good, decent quality podcast content? This is what I mean. I went to go on my notes app. I ended up scrolling on Instagram for 2 minutes and I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm just going to run you through some cool things that happened to me this week. James Charles commented on my TikTok. Never in my life did I think James Charles would comment on my TikTok. I think if this was like 13-year-old me, I'd be going cray-cray. I'd be going crazy. The fact that my James Charles Morphe palette exploded on my white sofa as I was talking about how cool James Charles is and how funny he's always been and how everyone who finds him funny now and was switched up on them since 2020 when they didn't like him is like crazy to me. And that's what I was kind of discussing. And then next thing you know, my James Charles palette has exploded all over my sofa. And if you know, the James Charles X Morphe palette, this one right here, I cherish this. I want to give this on to my children. Like, that's how much I cherish this palette because I have never found a palette as good as this. So that happened to me this week. My podcast hit 120,000 views on one of them. Maybe it's 130 now, which that was cool. That was me talking about A&E, by the way. I hit 100 followers on TikTok and I got invited to a YouTube PR event with PR merch, guys. I got YouTube official merch. So those were things that I thought was a big achievement this week. That's something that's keeping me going in life, I guess. On to the next day, giving me hope that, life does get better. Talking on the James Charles thing, I have been asked for some story times on my James Charles Morphe palette and how I actually got it. So, if you didn't know, in 2018, I think back end of 2018, this was released. And I flew out to LA to get this palette because at the time I really wanted it and it wasn't in England at the time. And I was going out to LA anyway, so I thought kill two birds in one stone. I think Sephora was going crazy at the time. It was popping. Before Sephora Kids, the James Charles Morphe palette was the shit. It still is the shit, but it's just not sold anymore. Anyway, I remember queuing for this palette, and at the time, that was when like the Kylie Jenner lip kits were out as well, and I queued for that also, the pop-up shop one. I remember the whole shopping mall was just crazy, full of makeup fans, because at the time, the beauty industry was just crazy. Now it's obviously skincare, but at the time it was the beauty industry. Anyway, I remember queuing up for this palette. I remember I got one of like the last ones on the stand, and I was like, listen, lady, listen. I've just traveled all the way from UK and I need this palette right now. Like, I need it. I didn't actually say it like that. I was like, I need this palette right now. Genuinely. Best believe I hustled, I grinded to get that James Charles palette. I was giving every sob story to everyone how I flew out from England to get this James Charles palette because there was only a few left. I ended up getting the palette and that was pretty much it. But at the time, the Pinkity Drinkity was also a thing. I remember vividly going to the shopping mall Starbucks in LA, asking, I think it was Topanga, and I asked this lady, can I have the James Charles drink? And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, the Pinkity Drinkity? She didn't have a clue. I think I said it in a British accent, the Pinkity Drinkity. I never ended up getting it. I've never ended up trying it. I believe they actually made a Starbucks drink because of him, but I don't know. I'm probably wrong. Anyway, we've kind of cancelled Starbucks, I guess. So on the topic of LA, I don't know if many of you knew, but I used to go there every year, like once a year. This one time I went, I was wearing my Playboy tracksuit bottoms, which I still have because to me, it's a really iconic part of my wardrobe. It just is. Like when I went to LA, I used to feel like I could express myself with my fashion. But when I got back to England, I was like, oh, I've got to wear skinny ripped jeans and a cute little tank top. Like it was basic, giving basic at the time. So when I went to LA, I was wearing all this baggy shit and I was feeling like Billie Eilish, basically. I was like, I'm so cool, man. Like I am now, you know. I went to a shop called PacSun in America and I was showing my dad around. I was like, oh my God, I really want this, and this. And this lady comes up to me and she's like, oh my God, I love your pants. I'm pretty sure I have it on an old vlog if you go on my old YouTube channel. And I was like, for a second, I genuinely thought I was naked. You know, one of those dreams that you have where you're like, oh my God, I'm naked and I'm in public. Like that was how I felt. And she said, your pants, where are they from? And I was like, at the time, I was like, Misguided. I don't even know if Americans know about Misguided. They must do. They must do now. But at the time I was like, oh, Misguided. She was like, oh my God, lovely. I love it. I love Americans. I actually love Americans because you wouldn't get that in the UK. You just wouldn't. That was probably a really irrelevant story, but like I'm going to tell every story time I can about LA. I have so much to talk about because I love it. And I feel like maybe times have changed now because the time I went was when Jake Paul and everyone was popping. Guys, I went to the Team 10 house. I was one of those people that waited outside the Team 10 house until one of them came out. The only person I ever saw was Erica Costell. Looking back, that was really stalkerish of me. Like you would never catch me out trying to look for an influencer, trying to look for a celeb. I was just one of those people that if I saw a celeb in the street, I would probably just turn around the other way because they didn't intimidate me too much. But the way I dragged my dad on Melrose Avenue, because we were in the area at the time, I was like, we need to go to this Team 10 house. We need to go. And I remember I got there and there was about 20, 50 children with parents. And looking back, how did parents allow us to just stalk people? But I guess if you're a dress and you're publicly online, like, and they were kind of egging it on at the time, it doesn't really make it okay, but I guess it was LA. No one actually gave a shit. You know what I mean? Melrose was like where it was all happening. You had the pink wall as well. Was that Jean Paul? Was the pink wall Jean Paul? Oh my God, that's such full circle moment because the way I opened my Jean Paul Gaultier with a can opener. That's so funny. Anyway, of course I had to take photos in front of the pink wall. But yeah, I remember that one of the security guards was really, really rude, but then also rightfully so because we were all just waiting out there like it was fine. But like everyone in America around the area was so stuck up. It was crazy. Once I went to Rodeo Drive and me and my family were just trying to take a photo in front of this statue. I can't remember what it was. It was something seasonal. Anyway, this woman barges in front of us as we were taking the photo with her family, drags her kids, looks us up and down and goes, excuse me, we're trying to take a photo. And I was just like, okay, you take the photo. And then she took the photo. She walks off and she goes, look at them. That's what you don't want to turn out like. I was just like, that's crazy. I mean, at the time I wasn't confrontational at all. Neither was my family. So we kind of just brushed it off. But like looking back, if that was me now, I'd be like, excuse me. Even though I probably couldn't afford half of the stuff on Rodeo Drive. Because if you don't know about Rodeo Drive, it's like all fancy shit. I mean, now I look back at it, it's kind of tacky. It's kind of Gucci and all of that. But why do I think Gucci is tacky? Can we just talk about that for a second? Gucci is tacky as hell. I have so many story times on LA that I could give, and I will give. But I think I just spiraled because I spoke about James Charles for a bit. But yeah, that's all I have to say today for the podcast. I'm going to cut it here because I am hot, overstimulated, and I just need to relax. It's too hot. I'm too overstimulated and I'm too stressed out about the CT scan. Like, I can't think straight. My head is not here. All I can think about is the CT scan. Until I know results, I can relax. But even then I can't relax because I'm like, what if they miss something? So anyway, I will speak to you guys next week on a Wildcard Wednesday. It will be the day after my scan, so I can talk to you all about it. Goodbye.